Hi, welcome to the Pints Polishing Podcast. I'm Marshall. That's Nick. You can find us at hypercleanstore.com or go to the HyperClean Specialist group on Facebook. This is another deep dive episode where we're going to get into the exterior cleaning. You know, can you use one product on the exterior through the whole exterior? Tires, wheels, fender wells, engines, everywhere. Nick, let's do a deep dive into TRX. Definitely the most versatile product we have. Where is your favorite place to use TRX?
Well, I think right now I love how it does on tires and the fender well, right? It's just something that I spray all over, use our Marilex foamers or any foamer that you like out there. Dwells a long time, heavy cleaning ability. But honestly, if you maintain your rims, it's a great all-in-one tire and wheel cleaner, right? Like I actually really do like it for that on cars that are well maintained. You know, you'll have to bump up to something like Fuego if you're struggling to maintain your car and need to really clean it up. But I think it's really probably it's one of our biggest sellers. It's something that catches on with everybody that gives it a shot and they just become repeat buyers. So you use the word. This is an extremely versatile product.
Yeah, I'm a tire fan myself. I love the color change. I love what it does on tires. There's another place though that I think I found that love TRX, and that is the engine bay. Oh man,
Yeah.
I love TRX in the engine. All right, so let's think for a second before we get into why somebody might like it on the engine and what maybe they should dilute it at. Let's get into the topic of what's the difference in TRX, right? The blaring one that's got to come across everybody is what is the difference between TRX and a degreaser, right? So we've got the degreaser inside of our ultra concentrate line, and it is, if somebody wants a pure, good old-fashioned style, basically degreaser, you can get in an ultra concentrate. TRX, though, it's formulated different. We actually say that it's not a degreaser. We make it differently than a normal degreaser.
Yeah, so I think here's the way that I always kind of look at it. For anybody that maybe hasn't even experienced a traditional degreaser, they're extremely dangerous. You'll burn a rim, you'll burn plastics, you'll burn paint. This is what happens a lot of times at car washes, correct, Marty? Is basically a heavy degreaser gets put through the system and you have all kinds of chemical damage on the car. We've all seen those spray marks on a wheel, right? From a harsh degreaser. I think when you think about TRX, think of everything that's great about a degreaser, because a degreaser cleans like a wizard. Think of everything like a degreaser, but with the modern technology of surfactants and cleaners that we didn't have when degreasers were developed. And so this is what we've been talking about in the last few episodes we've had. Use the world to your advantage in the chemical space. And TRX is the perfect example of that. Extremely safe cleaner that packs as much power as a traditional degreaser without all the risk behind a traditional degreaser.
Yeah, traditional degreaser did. You could see, as you mentioned, some of those spots. You could see definitely places where if the degreaser was too, we would use that word hot, right? Hot
Yep.
comes from caustics, from solvents. We've removed those out of this formula. It's very minimal. And like you mentioned, the word surfactants, right? So that's how it's changed, really. That's the big difference between TRX and a degreaser. So TRX and APC, okay? APC is a little milder of a cleaner. What's the difference between a TRX and our APC? Because we'll get into where people can use it. A lot of people will use APC on the interiors. We're going to recommend people stick with the APC or Revive on the interiors. But we do get that question. Hey, what's the difference in APC and TRX?
Well, look, when you're on the exterior of a car, I think we can all say something pretty logically. You have road film, road grime, dirt, mud, oil, antifreeze, all this kind of stuff that's on the roads and things you drive through. I wouldn't necessarily say those are the things I run into on my interior, right? My interior, sunscreen, body lotion, body oil. So I see this promotion of APC on the exterior of a car, and I just say it can work. It's a cleaner. It's just highly inefficient, right? You want degreasing properties on the exterior of a car because guess what? Your car drives through a lot of things that are quote unquote greasy, right? Like it's just logic. APC is not heavily used in a mechanic shop. You want to know why? Because they run across a lot of grease and grime and those types of things. And the best way to cut that stuff is something that's either A, a degreaser, or B, mimics a degreaser like TRX does. And that's the best way of saying it about TRX. TRX mimics a degreaser without the dangers of a degreaser. And so you're exactly right. They need to stay separate. In my opinion, it's just more efficient, right? An APC is extremely efficient on a dirty interior. A degreaser is extremely efficient on the exterior of a car. Why would I want to work less efficiently? How many of us love to clean up the dirty parts of our vehicle and say, hey, let's have it take more time than it should? I don't think many of us do that.
No, they definitely don't. But many people, when they do use TRX, there's some things that they do love about it. And one of the comments is a thing that I really enjoy too. As I said earlier, with tires, I love that color change, right? I really enjoy how TRX breaks down the grime on the tire. We recently just added another distributor, and their comments when they told us was the feedback that they had was people said, hey, we don't have to wash our tires twice. I laughed and I go, you know what? We used to joke around with people on TikTok about that too. How years ago, people on TikTok would like to, want to wash my tires multiple times. Well, with TRX, what I really enjoy is you can cut through that tire grime very quick on the first go around. Other things that people say is the smell, right? That as the old degreaser smell and make you cough really bad. And there's all these problems that went around with degreaser, and TRX people really enjoy how it doesn't do that for them. They enjoy the color change, and they enjoy
I would say the smell is the number one thing. If you detail cars long enough that your happy is gone, you are kind of done with the coughing and the inhaling of really, let's be honest, caustic isn't the safest thing in the world. It's necessary, but it isn't the safest thing in the world if you don't need it. And in this case, when you're able to formulate, and I want to go back to something on the APC thing. It's becoming very popular on social media for people to say degreasers will harm your plastic trim. You're exactly right. They'll dry them out. Those people that tell you that they're working with modern stuff, so that's why you should use an APC because a degreaser is old school. They're right, but they're wrong. An APC will dry out plastics as well. You've seen it plenty in your career. That's why you should be asking people one thing. Why aren't you developing a modern cleaner like TRX? That's something that those individuals telling you that they haven't looked at modern surfactants. They haven't looked at the way to have degreasing properties without all the harsh chemical. And so when you look at the color changing, and here's another thing to think about for all of you that maintain your tires and your car really well. The great thing about TRX is it kind of gets that old funky tire shine off. Does a really great job at giving you a fresh start on a well-maintained vehicle. And if you have a good build-up of a water-based dressing, you're going to need something to cut through that a little bit. You're going to need some power. APC does not cut through that type of product. And so I'm with you. The color change, the lack of smell that makes you cough like the traditional degreaser, I think this is why, and I said at the beginning of the episode, this is by far, we got 2 or 3 products that we know are fan favorites. This is right up there. And it's right up there for all the reasons we've kind of laid out so far.
Mm-hmm. So where do we use TRX, right? Like, let's go through that because even though inside the name, trim, rubber, exterior, we get a lot of questions.
Tires, rubber, and exterior.
Tires, rubber, exterior, yes. Can you use it on trim, huh? Can you use it on trim? Yes, you can. Can you use it on the engines? We talked about the engines. There's all kinds of places throughout the entire exterior, but I think the number one place that people always ask, can you use it, is what we talked about a second ago. Can you use it on wheels? So let's go back over. I know you mentioned that a little bit ago, right? If somebody's maintained a wheel, but are there wheels that we shouldn't use it on? How should we use it on wheels? There's people that said, hey, is this a non-acid wheel cleaner, right?
The answer is yes. It's a non-acid wheel cleaner. And by the way, most wheel cleaners today are non-acidic, just so everybody knows. Let's be fair. Very few heavy acidic cleaners anymore left on the market. You got to specifically search those out. But I think there's a good thing to talk about here. First of all, TRX can work on an extremely beat up wheel. The only thing I would say is that if I had a really beat up wheel, the one thing I would want to do is I'd want to decontaminate it with something like Fuego, which is an iron remover. I don't want those embedded contaminants staying on in my rims, my wheel surface, and taking away the clear coat and starting to eat away at my finish. But you can absolutely, and let's get into the dilution part of it. If I walk up, I got a beat up tire, beat up wheel, I'm going to use it 50-50, maybe even full strength on some beat up trucks. It's perfectly safe to do both. And it's going to be an awesome wheel cleaner, right? It's an awesome wheel cleaner at 4-1 on well-maintained or, slightly dirty wheels. You absolutely can use this as an all-in-one on the wheels and the tires. But the question I get a lot is, what about carbon ceramics? People get very, very weird about carbon ceramics because they freak out about carbon ceramics and it's going to damage. TRX is perfectly safe on carbon ceramics. What you should know is it's a perfect cleaner because you can dilute it down, and usually you don't have like super dirty wheels if you have carbon ceramics, but you do have road grime and all that kind of stuff picked up in there. Excessive heat has caused some things to bake on. TRX is perfect for that. So yes, you could use it as an all-in-one for pretty much all the rough parts of the exterior, including your wheels. Just remember, if I'm looking at a beat up wheel, I need to up my dilution a little bit and make it a little stronger. That way I don't have to put so much elbow grease into it.
Good point. Good point. Most people just like to scrub away, right? And we've already talked about how when you use a cheaper alternative, right? When you use something that is cheap, well, you're going to have to remove the grime somehow. And so you see people just scrubbing away and they're getting after it. You see the rims come back and people have pretty much just scrubbed away all the finish, and you see these dull spots and you're like, yeah, man, save some pennies there. Great job. So, if we're going to dilute, you already mentioned some dilutions for a beat up, right? Like something that's heavily contaminated, a lot of grime, a lot of nastiness. Let's go around the rest of the exterior places and how we might dilute it. I'm pretty steady at a 1-3, 1-4 is generally where I always like to use. Yeah. Well, as I mentioned an engine bay earlier, I've gotten down to a 1-2, but even on engine bays, I'm usually at somewhere in that 1-3, 1-4 range, which makes it very nice since it can be pulled and diluted so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly 4-1. Okay, I'm mostly 4-1. I would say today, I sent you a picture. I had some beat up tires. I had some beat up wheels. I had some beat up fender wells. I had some mud in some places. I had some heavy dirt. I went 2-1. And then when I kind of ran out, I just kind of poured in some more and used it straight up for a little extra strength. I am mostly 4-1. But this is where a lot of people make their life really difficult, Marty. You know it and I know it. You have to assess what you're looking at. Using anybody's tire, wheel and tire cleaner, you should do the same thing. Assess the situation you're looking at to make your life easier by using the chemical to benefit you. This is the biggest thing people screw up with dilutable chemicals, is they don't know when to go stronger, when to go weaker. Again, most of the cars you run into, 4-1 works awesome. I roll up to a real beat up car, I'm up in that dilution. Period. End of story. I am going to use a stronger dilution at that point. I think you're going to do the same with your experience. So you have to assess what you're looking at. We don't always get to all of our cars or all of our customers' cars in the time frame we'd love. The car gets a little bit more beat up. You have to assess what you're doing. And this is the thing that causes people to waste the most time or to get frustrated and have to use more elbow grease, is you didn't assess the situation that you were walking into.
Yeah. Okay, so who can use it, right? Who uses TRX? We already mentioned some places that they use it, but who would actually be the person that uses TRX? I don't have an off-road vehicle, but I've got a Jeep. I love spraying it on the big tires. I love spraying it up under the fender wells. Anybody that has a truck, a large vehicle, because especially as you go through, and you mentioned if you're using a Mirrorlex, it's just so quick to spray on the tires, the rims, go hit those large fender wells, but then I'll love to go down the side as, those lower rocker panels and hit it. Yeah. That's my favorite way to use it on my Jeep. But the people that are in the off-road community, boy, they're the ones that are really tearing it up, like
Yeah.
bikes, RVs, anything in that world. Why is it that those people are loving TRX so much?
Yeah, I think here's the number one thing. All the way from Ferrari, all the way up to an off-road vehicle. That's who should be using TRX. It's that good of a cleaner. But when you enjoy things out in the dirt and the mud and the elements, so to speak, we take care of. We have some wealthy clients that have a hunting Raptor. It's a Raptor built specifically to go in the woods and hunt. They're big hunters. My guys love it on that, right? Because that is seeing the elements. This is really where TRX shines. If you're running into dirt and grime, again, you want to clean up some Ferrari wheels and tires and some fender wells and some lower rockers, things like that, works awesome. All the way to all-terrain vehicles, to dirt bikes, to off-road, to hunting vehicles, to normal trucks that are on a job site, to whatever. This is how versatile this cleaner is. And truthfully, that's why we use the word versatile so much, because we have a huge swath of people in all different backgrounds of enjoying motor vehicles using this product. So don't pigeonhole this product into just a wheel and tire cleaner. Clean dirty rocker panels with it, pre-soak dirty rocker panels with it, clean up fender wells from a hunting vehicle or an off-road vehicle, clean up your RV, clean up even the bottom of boats. We have guys using TRX. Don't limit yourself. When you start to use this in a multitude of ways, you'll be like, hey, this replaces a lot of things. So, I mean, one of my favorite ways to use it is put it in a foam cannon. I put it in a foam cannon on a really dirty truck and just go to town on the wheels, tires, fender wells, lower rockers, Nerf bars, big bumpers, even, heavily bugged front ends. If you just want to put it in a foam cannon, it's nice to start breaking those down before putting our designated bug cleaner on it. I mean, this is a versatile product, and you're only limited if you don't understand the product. And that's what we're hoping to clear up today, is that this is a modern, tough cleaner that works on the most valuable cars every day in my business, all the way to hunting vehicles. And so don't limit this product. Really start to use it in a lot of places and replace a lot of things that you think you need.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that about being on the Ferrari and then straight out into the mud, right? Like, it is interesting how you can have a product that is so finely tuned to be able to clean even the most, expensive type Ferraris, but then aggressive enough, but not too aggressive, right? Because, geez, a lot of the stuff that people are using on the off-roads are almost as valuable as the Ferrari, right? Like, there's some pretty expensive off-road stuff that if you use too harsh of a product, and while if it may not be safe, then you're going to cause some damage. So strength with stability and safetiness, right? Like that is the amazing part, definitely.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I mean, this product replaced a lot in my business. It's replaced a lot, I think, you detailing cars. It's just that versatile that you're only limited by where you use it, right? If you're buying things that are quote unquote there to just clean the wheels and tires, that's a very limited product, right? This, another great place, WeatherTech mats. You get into plastic, vinyl, rubber mats. They're beat up, or you just need a good maintenance on them. TRX, perfect. I love TRX on WeatherTech type mats, and so now you start to see all these places you can put it, and again, safety is so important with these types of products. What you see a lot in those those off-road Polaris big plastic siding is a lot of times when you see those guys going out, you'll see all these run marks on the plastic. Okay, you see those run marks. They're using a heavy degreaser on their vehicles. Completely unnecessary, completely outdated, right? And they don't know that it's dangerous. And then all of a sudden, you'll get a call. I'll get a call in our business, and somebody will be like, "Hey, I got this off-road vehicle, and my plastic's all marked up. How do I get that to go away?" Bud, you don't. You use the wrong cleaner. You've marked it almost permanently. Now all you can do is really cover up the damage with something, and that's never going to really solve anything long term. Just start off with something like TRX, make your life easier, clean off your off-road vehicles, clean up your Ferrari, clean up your BMW, clean up your Jeep, clean up your RV, clean up everything. And this is the perfect exterior product. And honestly, I think it's a product that we're probably one of the products we're probably the most proud of, is because it solved a real issue for us, which then solved a real issue for everyone else that loves cleaning cars or cleaning their own car or whatever. You and I remember the days of that look on your face when you would burn the face of a wheel with the greaser, and it's a horrible feeling. And the fact that it's still going on, it shouldn't be. When TRX exists, you shouldn't be in that position.
Nope, you should not. So everybody can grab it in a gallon, which is dilute for use. So as we mentioned, the different ways you can dilute it, you can get the hyperCLEAN spray bottle and you can dilute it for use. When you do, it is easier if you'll go ahead and put your water in first, then you won't get all the foam coming up if you've got the chemical in. So,
I made that mistake about 1,000 times in my life.
Yeah, right. So go ahead and put the water in first and then fill up the rest of the way with TRX. If you get in the spray bottle, it's going to come at a 1-to-4 ratio for you. So you'll know what you're working with.
In a 4-to-1 makeup, just to give you a test of our 16s, to make sure we say this more times, is just for you to test the product. Okay. You want to step up to the gallon. That way you can use it for the way you want. 2-to-1, 1-to-1. Full strength, 4-to-1, 10-to-1, whatever works for you. So remember, the 16 ounce is really a trial thing that we pre-dilute to let you get a feel for the product.
All right. And that's a deep dive on exterior cleaning with TRX.
Thanks, guys.